There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
All the real 5-star maniacs have already gone out. They've already gone out to Kickstomper, and they've already backed it. Or they went to FSK Go on their internet-enabled devices, and they're already on the Kevin Terry is 5-star train, baby. But you're saying Macho Fish is 5-star as awesome a hero as you make him out to be. Check him out, brother. But I hear you claiming, but Macho Fish, how can he have the belt? How can he be the new champion in the FSK verse? Is 5-star strong enough? Check it out, brother. He's lifting an armored car. And I hear you saying, I hear the people chanting out there. They're saying, okay, we know 5-star's the most awesome hero. We know that he's powerful. We know that he can absorb energy and he can fire it back out at people. We know that he can lift an armored truck, brother. But does it have the emotion? Is it deeper than that? Well, check it out, brother. We got a man feeling real feelings. I'm talking real human feelings. So you got 4 days left, brother, to get in on the train. You don't want to miss out on the 5-star train. Toot, brother. You don't want to miss it. 4 days to get out and go to FSK Go and get in on the Kickstarter and be a part of the most awesome comic you're ever going to see, man. Check it out.
Oh, yeah. What's up, the internet? It's me. It's Kyle. How's it going? Welcome in. This is the EXP Expo 2022, the one with all the twos, because it's also our second EXP Expo, and I'm not good at names. So, without more ado, because we just saw him there, I'm going to bring in our first guest on EXP Expo 2022, Mr. Fish Comic, a.k.a. Macho.
Ooh, yeah, brother. This is the Maniac Mr. Fish, man. I'm here to tell you all about comic books, man, and all about 5-star, brother. We got 4 days left. We got $444 left to raise, brother. So let's get out there and let's get on it all, my little 5-star maniacs. That's about all that I got in me.
How long? I was going to say, how much longer could you do that voice? Like,
woo!
Really?
I'm here to tell you, man. I film promos, for every day to wrap out the end of the Kickstarter. I sat down and filmed them all the other morning. I was so physically exhausted by the end of this. I did not realize how much this was going to take out of me. Like, I was nauseous, and I realized, I'm straining every muscle in my body doing this bit. Like, for no reason. There's no reason to be flexing my abs when it doesn't show me above the shoulders. But, hey, I was all into it, man. I gave it everything I had. And my wife is just, she's quietly trying to do her online studies as I'm in the kitchen screaming at the camera. And she's like, you know what? I love the fact that you're not afraid to make a total idiot of yourself in public to help out a friend. I was like,
and
I appreciate that.
That's the thing, right? Like, the things that I've done in my life that have been successful have been because I've been willing to put my own ass on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to do something stupid. We did a fundraiser one year, raising money for my store, where if we raised enough, Brutus the Barber Beefcake would trim my beard.
Okay, see, I love Tony. I love 5-star. I ain't going that far.
Well, we raised enough money, and so I go to Brutus. I go, "Can you trim my beard?" And what does he do? He takes the shears and just kind of like took off, minuscule amounts. But I was terrified.
Oh, man.
He was so great about it. But no, I love.
Oh.
So let's start here. That's where I first discovered you as a creator, was on TikTok. And I was trying to find and follow people who drew for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I at one point my TikTok became overwhelmingly thirst traps and people lip singing to songs I didn't know, because that's how TikTok does.
Yeah.
So I went and unfollowed everyone. I unfollowed every single person and just put in #art. I just followed his
I get some things are going to be universally appealing. Some odd characters, like the dude that does wells and septic systems. I love that guy. I watch everything that dude makes.
Yeah.
Yo, he's a fascinating character. I never would have thought that would have been my bag. I watch all these rug making videos where they're using that giant gun. Fascinating. So there's some of that stuff I get that we're all going to get. But when they just keep putting teenagers or moms that are sitting there in low cut tops doing live streams with people, trying to trick them into doing jumping jacks or something, I have no interest in this. I don't want to watch this. I would much rather see other creators, other writers, and oh man, there's some awesome feeds out there of writers in TVs and movies and comics that are explaining how to make them care about your character, how to make a hero out of the villain in your story, and all this interesting stuff. I can watch that all day. I don't need to see the cheesecake stuff. I don't care. I mean,
there's a guy every day does a 1 hour live stream where he's just drawing another TikToker.
Oh, that's cool.
Watercoloring, painting it. And I'm like, I have none of those skills. I can watch this all day.
Mm-hmm. And see, I forget that. Like we were at FSK Day together, the end of last year, and I had forgotten. It's been a while since I've been at a show, live around people, because man, I was going to hit 2020. I was going to hit every show within driving distance, and I'll drive a long way. I drove to Columbus from Arkansas to be at FSK Day, but I forgot what it's like until Tony Clapper is over my shoulder watching me draw, and he's like, man, this is freaking amazing. I'm doing a magic trick. Because to me, this is what I do all day at work. I don't look at it as magic. I don't, I don't see that anymore like other people do. And it's just got me going. And, people have really enjoyed watching my TikToks and watching me just come up with characters on the spot. We just did it on our 5-Star Friday show last night. We rolled up a random set of powers, and the guest picked one, the fans picked one, I picked one because it was obscure. I mean, super self-confidence. That's so weird. And drew a character on the spot, and he's absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. And, shared the time lapse this morning.
So he's a little bit Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, super self-confident.
Oh, man. He is like beach body god. He's in a banana hammock. The guest Kevin picked steel skin. So we did that. And then one of the audience members picked bone claws, and all of us were like, oh God, I didn't want to have to do bone claws. And, because what are you going to do besides Wolverine? And then there was super self-confidence. I was like, okay, that is so obscure. And then I got to thinking about all the Muscle Man Chrome, Colossus and stuff. And I was like, okay, this dude is just all about his body and he's all flexing, and I gave him one big giant spike out of each arm instead of like, the 3 Wolverine claws. Because to me, that makes more sense. Like that just is going to cut better. And then the more we talked about it, it's like, yeah, his skin's indestructible. His claws break all the time. Like they're made of bone. They chip and bleed and like they're completely ineffective. And he spends all day like polishing his body so it's nice and shiny. And like just how completely caught up in like his Instagram feed this dude is and how many likes and how he's trending. He couldn't care less about reality. He's
won't
just
get in a
all
fight
about
unless
the
you
image.
scuff the finish.
Oh, forget about it. Oh man.
So
yeah,
let's go back. How did you find yourself in comics? What brought you to this as a field?
That is interesting. And there's several different aspects to that. Like, I mean, everybody likes to say like, oh, you're an artist. It's this God-given talent. It's this special thing that you have. I will admit, I was the best artist in kindergarten. I could draw dragsters out of 2 circles and a triangle better than the other kids, hands down. Like I would put little squiggles for dirt coming off the back wheel. The other kids weren't thinking about that. I had exhaust shooting out the back. Other kids weren't working on my level. That's about the end of where my natural ability ends of making me a special artist. The rest of it is 40 years of hard work and practice and study and learning. Like there absolutely is some things that are different. Some people can't imagine things in their mind. They can't picture an apple in their mind. They just can't see it. I can absolutely see it. I can picture a tree. I can picture what apples look like on alien planets. I've got a gift in the way my imagination works. It makes me a talented storyteller. It makes me a good preacher. It makes me good at all kinds of things. It made me a great carpenter. It made me a great sign painter and t-shirt designer and, all kinds of different things that I've done over my career. Art is one of those things that comes a little bit easier to me because of the way my brain works. With my Tourette's and my ADD, my brain runs super, super fast. And so I come up with lots of ideas really quick. That is a big help in comic books and stuff. It's not so much of a big help when, like you're say, in a business world and they want one idea of how can we make the business run faster. I'm like, oh, we could do this and this and this and this and this. That's not a big help. But in comic books, it's a big bonus. I actually, like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an inventor. I wanted to be, like the next Thomas Edison. I wanted to be an engineer. And then the Goonies came out and I freaking fell in love with Data. Like he became my hero as a kid. I wanted to build a jacket just like his that would have the punching glove that comes out and the oil slick and grappling hooks and all this stuff. And so I begged my mom, take me to the junkyard. Please take me to the junkyard so I can buy stuff and build my suit. And she's wisely, my brilliant saint of a mother, said, I'm not taking you to the junkyard unless you have detailed plans of what you want, what you need to build what you're going to build. Because you're not just bringing home everything that looks cool. And she's absolutely right. I would be dragging home engine blocks and hubcaps and all kinds of stuff that just looked cool. And, so she was very wise and I appreciate her for that. So I started drawing plans for my jacket and like the weapons and gear I was going to put into it. And then Inspector Gadget comes out and I get super into that. I'm like, okay, now I have to figure out how to make a helicopter pop out of my head. And surely if I mount a lawnmower engine to the top of a football helmet and put giant blades on it, that'll let me fly and not just twist my head off, because I'm a kid. Surely this will work. And so the plans change and they keep evolving and changing until eventually I realize, I could be a legit superhero. And then it hits me. There are no supervillains. Who am I going to fight if I'm a superhero? And then it hits me. There's no superheroes either. I could be a supervillain. There's nobody to fight me. So now my plans change. Now I'm going to take over the world. And now it starts growing into these suits of mech armor and stuff that I got to build and these, giant suits that are going to stomp through New York. And I'm going to take over the world. And I'm drawing plans for how I'm going to do all this. And eventually I just gave up on the whole I'm going to build it thing. And I'm just designing worlds of superheroes and robots and monsters and aliens and costumes. And that's one reason that a lot of my characters people notice a lot of my characters have like seams in their costumes and zippers and buckles, and it like looks like you could get into the costume. It looks like their equipment might actually work, because I really think through this stuff, and I think through like, how are they going to put this on? How are they going to carry it? Like, where's the power source for this magical weapon that they have? I think all these things through, and so it has a little bit more realistic feel, even when we're talking about fantastical stuff. And I actually got to meet the dude that played Data in the Goonies at the Little Rock Comic Con a couple of years ago. And I walked up to him with my comic book that I had made and published myself. And, by this time, I'm working full-time in comics doing other people's books. I published my own book just to see if I could do it. I had been out of work for years, been disabled. It's a whole nother story. And so I published my own book just to see if I could do it. And it worked. And the next thing you know, I'm working full-time drawing other people's comics. And I go up to him and I give him this comic. I was like, man, in the most convoluted way possible, like, you led to me having a career in artwork. And I have enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, I have made giant fiberglass polar bears. I've made giant chili dogs for signs. I have done all kinds of crazy stuff over my career. I sculpted a dude's dogs for his wife for a Christmas present one year. And like, getting them to look like golden retrievers, easy. Getting them to look like brother and sister golden retrievers and look like each dog, that was freaking difficult. I have done so many crazy, weird things over the years, including drawing comics for a living. I draw grown men beating each other up in their underwear all day for a living from my recliner. That's like the most fun you could have, period.
And it's all because of the Goonies.
It's all because of the Goonies. He inspired me, and I started drawing hardcore seriously, not just for fun as a hobby, just to pass time. And I owe it all to that, as crazy as it is.
I love it. It's one of those things is that you don't always hear the Goonies invoked on a daily basis, but when it is, everybody has a good Goonies story. I want to give a shout out to Ron Shepard, who's watching, and I know Brainy is watching at Enjoy Comics and Games and Comics. Brainy, can you flip the order of the things in your store? Anyhow, just because then I can get the name right. But I shout out to everybody who's watching. If you have questions for Fish, throw them in the comments.
Absolutely,
and we will get to them. We got a long show today. We'll go as long as we can, and we'll try and get to everybody's questions. So, you started. You was your self-published book your first comic?
Well, I have made a lot of comics over the years, and like 25 years ago, I tried self-publishing my own Ashcan comic, and I am really grateful now that it failed miserably and didn't get out anywhere, because I'm glad there's not copies of that with my name on it, because I was 21 years old, and I was trying to show everybody how adult I was and how mature I was. So like, every page is just nothing but vulgarity and gore and boobs and sex and like everything I could pack into it to show how mature I was, because I'm a grown up now. And for some reason, when I tried pitching this book to comic shops to carry it, it had to be completely wrapped up. It had to be covered. It had to be wrapped in plastic, and it had to be in the back behind the curtain, for the over 18 crowd. So like, you couldn't even like peek into it to get a glimpse of it. And, it's like, well, nobody's going to buy that. And then they all wanted, like 3/4 of the cover price. And I was like, I'm going to be printing this thing on a Xerox. I can't afford to do that. And so that didn't go anywhere. And since then, like, I had sporadically done some projects. I'd do like some advertising bits that were comic strips. I'd done like little giveaway free comic books for churches and stuff to give away with things. I've done little projects, but I didn't seriously get involved in doing comics like seriously hardcore until like 3 years ago. And, I've built a full-time career in that time because of the awesome connections I've made and the great friends I've made. And now, granted, I've been an artist my whole life. I worked, as a graphic artist for years. I did artwork as my job. I have Tourette syndrome. It got really severe in my late 20s, and I wasn't even diagnosed as a kid. I was just a weirdo. We didn't know there was a diagnosis to it. And I had a lot of little odd quirks, and my tics were weird things like holding my breath, stuttering, things that were easy to explain and overlook. But come like 28, 29, I'm on crutches and in a wheelchair, and I can't walk. I can't hardly talk. I can't see most of the time. It got to where most of the time I couldn't feed myself. I mean, it was brutal. I was just violently shaking all the time. So much so, I've given myself so many concussions over the years, I can't even mimic how bad I used to shake without giving myself another concussion. If I shake my head no too hard, I will give myself another concussion. So I have to be careful when I start to mimic how it was. It got really bad. I mean, I was either trapped in bed or in my wheelchair or in my recliner. That's all I had for years. Like there was a solid decade there where my only communication with the outside world was like on my cell phone, because I might have one thumb that I could control well enough to be able to type out on the screen. So I started reaching out to people on Facebook, and I started doing outreach and support and encouragement in like the Tourette's community. And that gave me an outlet to be able to like communicate with people when I couldn't like literally talk to people in the same room. And so I spent like 15 years basically locked in a body that doesn't work, and I couldn't do much of anything. I couldn't work. My freelance career dried up, it was brutal. And then, some changes happened, and I got changes in my meds and treatments, and all kinds of different things started coming together, and my health started getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And I learned how to ride the waves better instead of fighting against the ocean, and all kinds of things that added up together. And my tics started to get better, get a little bit better under control. And I started looking at what could I do for work now? Like, I still can't, like at the time, I still couldn't drive. I still couldn't talk most days. I still can't guarantee I can see out of both eyes all day. I can't guarantee I can walk all day. I can't stand up for a whole long time, before I start shaking so bad. Like, there's not a lot of places you can find a job that's like, maybe I can come in today, maybe I can't. Maybe I can't come in for 2 weeks. Like, there's not a lot of jobs that are that accommodating. So trying to figure out how to restart a freelance career from scratch again, because I had been out of commission for so long, I was like, that's probably my best bet, because I can set my own hours. I can work around my bad days. And I had been doing a lot of, been sharing a lot of my comic book drawings and my characters and things, and been making more friends. And I decided, a friend of mine was doing a comic book. He does a webcomic series, Severe Comics, Quentin Bennett. I love his characters. He's a local kid. We were friends. He had begged me to do a comic for him. So I knocked out like a 15-page issue for him. Went well. It was easy. It was just a friend helping out a friend. It did good. He was ecstatic. I saw that I could get the work done. And so I got the idea to do my own book. I ran a Kickstarter, and, it got funded, and I made my own book. And it's about a superhero team where T-Man has Tourette syndrome. He's like the living embodiment of Tourette syndrome. And he has the combined strength and abilities of everybody in the world with Tourette syndrome. So he has all of the combined brilliance and creativity, all the speed and strength, and all of their talents and skills that make them awesome. And he can shout with the power of 1,000 vocal tics, and like knock monsters down. He can vibrate with 1,000,000 motor tics and, shake walls apart. Like, it's funny, but it's also designed to be completely encouraging. And his partner in this, his teammate, not his sidekick or his girlfriend, his partner, his equal, is Hyperstrike, and she has ADHD, which I also have. And she's used all of her energy to become a martial arts master, and she's an engineer, like I always, wanted to be as a kid. And
That's
so she
that
designs.
hyper-focus.
Oh yeah, she designs this suit that fuels off of her excess energy, and it creates these energy constructs, and she can run at super speed and fly. And the thing I love about her is if she does not have the tool to beat the bad guy right now, she can build it. So, I love that about her. I love her being a brilliant engineer. And, so I made this comic. I put it out on Kickstarter. I thought, because it was my first time, I'd never done this before, I thought, okay, I will make a Kickstarter. I will post it. It will go viral and I will get rich. And I posted it and crickets. Turns out you got to promote these things. You got to be out there talking about them. You got to get on shows and be like, hey, we got a Kickstarter going right now live. It's 5-star. Kevin Terry is 5-star. FSKGo.com. Check it out. It'll take you right there to the link. We got $404 to go. Like, you've got to do this stuff to get people to know that the book's out there, so they go to the Kickstarter and they click on it. I didn't know that. So we got it done. It was successful. I got it out there. And then, I spent the next 3 months just taking orders and going to the post office and filling packages. And I sold 400 issues without hardly trying, and for little indie comics, that's a good score. I know a lot of people who got 50 sales on their book, and it did well. And then friends started hitting me up for doing stuff and doing commissions. And then next thing you know, I've been illustrating books full time ever since. And, my next paying gig was for Andrew Rowland on Imperium Command up there on the wall. And I was inking for him. And I made friends with the letterer on that job. And through him and commissions he gave me, I met other creatives like Tony and Roy at Standard Comics. And next thing you know, I'm illustrating 5-star. I'm illustrating the Sentinels for Roy. I'm illustrating Power Company. And I'm just full-time drawing comics for everybody else ever since, and now we're relaunching 5-star, starting from the ground up, relaunching the whole book series. And I'm super excited about it. I'm glad that we're relaunching it as it starts in with FSK and the Hot Shot books and Vigilance and all that. We can more seamlessly build it into the universe and make it like a real part of it from the get-go, instead of just relettering the old book and, making it work. This is all new, all special, all awesome. You ought to go check it out. And
link in the comments.
Absolutely. And then making that connections, being friends with Tony, doing the shows and stuff, doing 5-Star Fridays with Tony's on Facebook, and meeting people like Mike Watson at Freestyle Comics. And then Tony signs up with Freestyle, and then Tony's pitching me. He's like, dude, you got to check out this book Fish has been working on. And so now my book Green Zone is going to be published through FSK coming in April. And I'm super excited about that. And actually got to the point now that I've been having to look at everything and weigh my options. And I had to just recently, last week, make a decision. I've been agonizing over it for a while because there's so many people wanting me to do their books, and I've only got so many days. And I'm fast. I can be amazingly fast, but I can still only get so many books done at a time. And I have a lot of books I want to get done. Tony wants to get a lot of books out. Roy wants to get a bunch of Sentinels books out, and there's just not enough in me. So I set myself a goal. By the end of this year, I'm going to switch to primarily doing my books. And I'm still going to do 5-star because we're through the same publisher. That just makes sense. We're right there by each other. But I'm going to be doing Green Zone and 5-star and, some little pinups and side commissions. But I don't have enough in me to keep doing everything else. And I've got to get my stories told because there's some awesome stories coming. Sure. Really awesome stuff that y'all are going to flip over. And I got to get them told.
So how did you mentioned it before, but my next question was going to be, how did you get hooked up with Tony, and how did you come to Kevin Terry as 5-star?
That, like I was saying, when I made friends with that letterer, Eric N. Bennett, he started giving me little commissions because like all he really knew was I was an inker, and I made the pencils look really good. So he started giving me things that he had penciled from other artists, and I would ink it, and then he would send that to a colorist. And finally, on one job he sent me, I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and color this and just show him what it looks like, and I'll give it to him for free. I don't care. I'm just going to show him what it looks like. And after that, I became like his go-to colorist. And then he saw like what my original artwork looks like. And then I just became his go-to illustrator on so many things. And like the first time he had me draw 5-star, am I still on or did I go off?
Okay. No, you're good.
All right. I got the spinny wheel on my end for a second. The first time he had me draw his character Steel Wolf, like half of his costume is this golden like scale mail armor, and he had me do a mock cover for him with Steel Wolf fighting this other character, and I turned that side of Steel Wolf's costume to the camera, and it's just all that golden scale mail down the side, and he was like, dude, people usually avoid that. They usually try and like put that to the other side so they don't have to draw it. And I was like, yeah, I tend to go the other way. If something's hard, I go headlong into it. If I don't like it, I stick it in every panel until I do like it. Like I don't let things become something I'm afraid to do. Like if I'm afraid to draw cats, there's going to be a cat in every scene in the back of the book because I'm going to get over that fear. I'm not going to let it rule me. And so then he hired me to do, Tony was teamed up with Roy and Carlos Raphael and Eric Bennett and all these other guys to do the Power Company books, which is basically, for those that don't know, it's like a multiversal Justice League. There's some severe threat that's threatening, the multiverse, and they pull heroes from all these different indie books into here so that they can join up and fight, these bad guys. In the first couple of issues, it was a collection of bad guys from the multiverse that had gotten pulled in, and they're going to, destroy the world or whatever. And so they pulled in all the corresponding heroes to help fight them. And so now you've got this like rotating team of heroes from all these different indie books that can work together, and it's really fun. And so they were all partnered up on it, and Eric hired me to do like an 8-page short story to be tagged on the back of one of the issues. And and it was just 5-star and Steel Wolf talking about the emotional baggage of like, battle and losing people in battle, and how tough this is, and I've got a whole team of people relying on me and all that pressure of like real emotional stuff. And I loved it. I just went ham on these pages, and and one of the things about it was like they needed to explain some way that everybody gets from all these different dimensions into this world. And Professor Bizarre is this magic user. He's like the head magician of the world, like a Doctor Strange type character. He's got his own sanctum, that's this magic lair. And so Eric decided he wanted to have like a room where you could see all these different worlds in it. I went nuts on that. And you've got this doorway and this ivory, balcony that just goes out into open space, and there's just planets everywhere. And every scene is a different angled shot of this balcony in space and all these different planets and these guys talking. And when the guys saw this artwork and saw the way I did their characters, they were amazed with it. And the thing that really sold it, and this is something that any potential artist out there needs to perk up their ears and listen. Eric was hiring me for this job. Eric was ecstatic with the pages that I had done. He shows them to everybody else. Tony is like, oh man, 5-star looks amazing, but you forgot 5-star's belt. And I go back and look at it. I absolutely forgot his belt. I just missed it. Didn't put it on. And Eric's like, man, it's okay. You've already got the 8 pages done. We're not going to worry about it. I was like, whoa, no. I made a mistake. Like, it was clearly in the references. I missed it. I'm going to go back and fix it. And I went back and altered all 8 pages, like all 8 layers of artwork, to get the colors and the highlights and shadows and all that stuff right. And went back and fixed it all and resent it. And, they were amazed that I didn't ask for more money. I didn't complain. I fixed it. It needed to be right. Like, that's what the character looks like. And that alone, combined with the level of my talent, they all started hitting me up for books. And next thing you know, I'm illustrating a book for Carlos. And like the 3rd issue of 5 Star, because he already had 2 issues out before he ever met me. The 3rd issue, the old 3rd issue, that was my first full book that I worked on for somebody else. I did all the artwork, pencils, inks, colors. Somebody else lettered it, but I did everything else. And then I started working for Royal and the Sentinels, and then I did Supreme US for Carlos, and then back to Color and Power Company. And meeting that group of creators kept me busy pretty much full time. And then people seeing their work, everybody's hitting me up for hey, can you draw my character? Could you do a pinup? Can you do a cover? And literally friend to friend, I made connections with the right people. We clicked personally. Like Eric is not just a client. He's legit one of my best friends now. And we talk all the time. He will hit me up. If he notices a change in my voice in one of my TikTok videos, he will hit me up and he's like, dude, are you okay? What's going on? And nobody else picks that up, but we're close enough friends that he catches that, because he's not just a client that hires me for jobs. He's my buddy. If we lived closer, we would hang out and, watch the game and whatnot. We're legit friends now. And I am with Tony, and, Tony was so ecstatic about my work on 5 Star. And, he was at Short Fuse for a little while, but didn't put out a book while he was there. And then Short Fuse closed, and Mike's going off on his own again with Freestyle Comics. And then they decide they're going to take Tony with them, and, Tony's going to be a part of that. And in trying to figure out how to incorporate a book that's already got 3 issues out, has already started talking about a history and a mythos in the 5 Star world, how are we going to make that fit in the FSK universe that has its own very strict rules and things that have happened, big events that have happened that wiped out all the superheroes, and now it's started over, and the histories don't match up. They could have just relettered the books and been fine. They could have just relettered the books, re-put them out, and been good to go. We could have gone on with issue 4, and Tony could have 4 books under his belt. But Tony, this was a gutsy choice on his side. He's like, no, I'm going to put the money in it. Instead of getting 4 books, I'm going to have Fish go back and start over. We're going to do all the books with Fish artwork. We're going to redo this from the ground up, and we're going to make this an integral part of being a part of the 5 Star universe. And now, restarting the story over now, now 5 Star is starting a whole new storyline from here on out. Now it fits in with the timeline in the, Hotshot universe. Everything matches up. Now you can see that they live in the same world. They're interacting with the same kinds of people. Similar backgrounds and stuff are happening. You see things in the backgrounds of scenes and all that. And it was a smart choice. It was a gutsy choice. I don't think I would have done it. I think I would have rather had 4 books myself. But I respect Tony for doing that, because it's in the end, it's a much better product. And when somebody comes up and says, hey, I want to buy your first issue, there is no, okay, well, you have to understand, see, this was my first book and it's not as good. Now you can be bam, there's my first issue. You're going to love this. You are going to be hooked from here on out. And that is awesome. I'm so excited about this book.
Well, so we've kind of danced around it. The reason, one of the reasons you're here, other than the fact that, we've become friends and I was interested in talking to you because we don't know each other that well, is you have a Kickstarter running right now.
Mm-hmm. Right now.
And
we
so
have 4 days left on it.
I'm going to do the thing here where we do this. Kevin Terry is 5 Star. Number 1 is currently on Kickstarter. Link is in the comments. If you need me to post links again, I will. But right now you have you need $444 more. in the next 4 days. It's $111 a day, which is
easy
doable.
peasy.
Right.
Absolutely. We got halfway to the goal in the first 24 hours. I mean, this is an awesome book. People are excited about it. The one thing people need to understand, though, is this is only a 2-week Kickstarter, so you can't wait until the end of the month to join in. There's 4 days left. So if you've been holding out, if you've been waiting, you need to get on or you're going to miss out on it.
Right.
We've
got some examples of the art.
Oh, yeah. And the art, that was me. I'm actually in there. I'm cowering in the foreground right there in front of 5-star. My wife's excited because this is the first book that she's in the background of too. But I like to stick my family in the background. Like, you run out of random people to create. So, I'll stick my wife, my kids, my daughter-in-laws, all kinds of stuff in there, my friends.
So give everybody the elevator pitch on what 5-star, who 5-star is, who Kevin Terry is, and how it fits, if you can, into the FSK universe.
Absolutely. Kevin Terry was a hero long before he became 5-star. That's one of my favorite things about him. Kevin Terry is one of those guys that was a hero in his community, that was doing outreach to kids and stuff, was out there really trying to make a difference, even if the community wasn't happy about it, even if the gangbangers and stuff didn't want him there. Like, he's one of those real hometown ground level heroes that's really making a difference in the world that he lives in. And I love that because, like, I know those people and I love those people and I've worked alongside those people. And so Kevin Terry was already a hero, and then he gets cancer. And it is eating him up. And, like, he is on his deathbed. And you'll see him in the book. Like, he is just a shell of a man left over. And then, without wanting to give too many secrets away, and there's some of this that is mystery that's going to be explored over the next several issues, he gets this experimental treatment done. And it's an experimental treatment. It's supposed to supercharge his white blood cells so that they can absorb energy from outside to better fight off disease in his body. Something goes horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. There is a disaster. There is tragedy that comes raining down around the people in his life from this. And he wakes up months later in a hospital bed with this jacked body that's just swelling with energy. He's got all these powers that he has no idea how to control. They've had to move him to a high security location because he kept blowing the walls out when he was in a coma, just expelling energy and stuff, with no control over it. And the superhuman organization in the Hotshot universe is basically like, look, either we can keep you locked up and keep everybody safe, or you can train with us and learn how to control this, and maybe you can actually make a real difference in the world, with these powers. So he gets trained, he goes through all these processes. You see him learn how to use these powers, how to master them. You see, like, he's just burning his clothes off every time he uses these energy blasts. And, like, part of his suit, like the whole design of his suit, is to, like, partially throttle, like, how much energy he's absorbing from the world around him, partially help control and focus the energy that he's putting out so that he has better control over it and isn't just flipping around all over the place and, blasting everything out of the sky. Like, and as he trains and he gets better, he gets trained to be a hero, and then he steps out and he's got to figure out who is he going to be in this world of heroes. Like, this is a world that is used to having heroes for a long time. And then with the Zero event, they lost them all. And now there's a new crop of heroes that have come up, and you got Hotshot and Vigilance and, Heroes International. And some of them are doing great. Some of them have made mistakes. There are, all kinds of things are on the horizon with some of the new books. I got to read Hotshot 11, and, like, I was supposed to give Mike a quote. And I'm thinking, I'm going to give him this long, eloquent quote, about it. All I could say after reading Hotshot 11 was just, oh, bleep. I mean, it's nuts. So this is the world that 5-star is coming into. And he's got to figure out what kind of hero is he going to be. Part of the deal is like he goes around with his face exposed. He's not hiding his identity. Like people are going to straight up know who he is. What's going to happen from that? What kind of consequences are going to come from that? How is he going to suddenly handle having this kind of fame, having this kind of power? Like, I know if I had that kind of power that I could just toss armored trucks around, it would end up going to my head. I would get cocky. I would make mistakes. I would screw up. Like, I would probably end up being a bad guy before I knew it, and I'm a nice guy. But like, I can only imagine what would happen if I had that kind of power. But so you're going to get to see Kevin Terry go through all this stuff and struggle with like people trying to take advantage of him. People, there's so much coming. It is so good. But, this is just the first step, the first chapter that's introducing to us, getting to see who he is. I'm so excited about the way I got to lay this book out and, what I got to add to it in my storytelling aspect. Tony had a great script. But with our imaginations, being in sync and being on the same track, we really got to help feed off of each other and make this so much better than it would have been on its own, than it would have been as just a Tony book or just a Fish book. It is so much better with what we came up together, and I'm so excited. I can't wait for y'all to get a hold of this and to start to hear what y'all think about it and hear your reactions to it, because, man, this book is awesome. It really is. I can't wait to tell way more Kevin Terry stories.
So we have a question. Is there an ability to get signed books from the Kickstarter? Do you know, is that a tier? I don't see one.
It's not listed in the tier. I'm not exactly sure how Mike's going to handle that, because everything is going through FSK and Mike Watson and stuff. And now, like, Tony is in Ohio with Mike and Danny and all the other guys. So, getting a signed copy with Tony's signature on it is a lot easier than getting a signed copy with my signature on it. Because for me, that's like a 12-hour drive to get up there to sign books. For Tony, that's like an hour drive to go over and sign books and have a shipping party. So I'm not exactly sure. That's a good question, though.
Ron, I will message the publisher Mike Watson here in just a minute and see if I can get an answer for you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that too.
Out there.
That's something I'm going to put out on TikTok and Facebook and let people know when we get the answer, because that's a really good question. Mm-hmm. Like on my Kickstarter with my first book, I was shipping them all out myself, so I signed every single one of them. But I don't know this time around. And I've been wondering, because like I'm used to signing books at shows and stuff, and when my book Green Zone comes out in April, I've been wondering about signed copies because I've always done that. But it's a really good question, Ronald. I appreciate that. And we're going to find the answer after
that. So you mentioned that you have another Kickstarter coming in April.
Yeah.
Right? For Green Zone.
Yep. Green Zone, Life in the Blocks. And it's going to be coming out through FSK too. So like right now, when you go to fskgo.com, it takes you to the Kevin Terry is 5-star Kickstarter page. Once that's over, when you click fskgo.com, it's going to take you to the pre-launch page for Charlie McElvey's Spider Squirrel, the next issue of Spider Squirrel, because that's the next one in the FSK lineup. And then after that, it'll be to the Kickstarter, and then it'll be to the pre-launch page for it'll be Vigilance comes after that. And then after Vigilance is going to be Green Zone. So the nice thing is it's that one website, nice short, fskgo.com will take you to all of them. But after the Vigilance Kickstarter is over, then we're going to do Green Zone. So that'll be the beginning of April. We haven't exactly pinned down the exact date yet because we got to end one Kickstarter on the same page and then start the next one. So there's a little bit of gray area there and how quickly Kickstarter is going to let all of that happen. But yeah, my book, Green Zone, is going to be coming out in April to Kickstarter and then get published through FSK. I am super excited about Green Zone. The quickest pitch I can do for it is it's a world full of people that anybody could be born with superpowers. Anybody could be born with a genetic anomaly that makes them different than the average human. And that could be anything. That could be you can shoot lightning bolts. That could be you burst into flames. That could be your telekinetic. That could be you can magnetize your skin and make paper clips stick to it. It could be you just have spots or pointy ears or horns or jagged teeth. Like, it could be really obscure things. It could be really scary, powerful things. It could be absolute nonsense. But after enough people that had these genetic anomalies and had superpowers, after enough of them went bad, enough of them robbed banks, enough of them tried to take over the world, the whole world considers you a supervillain waiting to happen. You are a threat. You are a walking nuclear weapon waiting to happen. It doesn't matter if your genetic anomaly is you're 5% smarter. If your genes are off just enough to register as a genome, then you are a danger. You're just as big a threat as the guy that explodes. And as soon as you get found out to be a genome, or a gnome for short, you lose your rights, you lose your citizenship, you lose your right to vote, you can't own property, you get shuffled off into the blocks, which is these giant, overly built, superpowered ghettos that they just shove everybody into, And if you want to get out of the blocks, if you want to get out of abject poverty and abuse and squalor, if you want a better life for your family, if you want to be able to start a business, if you want to be able to work a decent job, if you want to be able to vote and have any kind of rights for your life, you have to go through the Genome Citizen Act, which is, they finally passed an act back in the 60s in the civil rights movement for genome rights that you could work your way out. If you prove that you're one of the good ones by, serving the greater good for 5 years, then you can get your rights. So you could either be, join the police force, fire department, the Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever. And if you serve for 5 years successfully, then you prove that you're not a threat. Dogs are fighting, sorry. If you serve the greater good for 5 years, then you earn your citizenship and you get your green card and you can move out of the blocks and move out of the green zone and make a better life for yourself, supposedly. This book follows along a group of new recruits to the police force on their first day on the shift. And, one of the characters is Virgil Green. He's this 8-foot lizard monster looking man. He looks like a giant horny toad. And he's absolutely terrifying. Everybody thinks that he's some kind of giant monster. The only thing this man wants to do is get out of the blocks and open a used bookstore and spend the rest of his life quietly reading books and imagining himself in a world where he's not a giant scary monster. But to do that, he has to risk his life for 5 years on the police force. He hates cops more than anything in the world. Like you see in the book, he catches his first felony charge at 5 years old just for scaring a police officer. He scares them and they beat the fool out of him, and they have to put a charge against him to make that worthwhile and, not get in trouble. So he gets a felony charge at 5 years old. One of the characters is Bellamy, and she is like a walking porcupine. She is covered in these purple spikes all over her body. And she lives her entire life in fear. If she bumps into somebody on the subway and pricks them with one of her spikes, she could be charged with unlawful use of supernatural force and go to prison. Like, she has to live her constant life in fear of like just brushing into somebody. And you see that in her body language and stuff. And she's always like keeping her elbows tucked in, and she's so unsure of herself and she's so uncomfortable in her own skin. And then you've got genomes like Officer Kim, who is Virgil's training officer. Looks absolutely human. Like, nothing about him at all looks off. He could pass for human any day of the week. You have no idea what his genome ability might possibly be, but nonetheless, his genetic markers are just a hair off a human, so he's a genome. So he has to work his way up just like anybody else. And you get into all these like political differences and tensions between, the scary looking genomes and the lawn gnomes that they call them, that look human, the kind that people like to keep around for decoration and say, see, we have some on the payroll. See, what I have a gnome as my best friend. I don't let him in the house, but yeah, we keep him around. You see how the people treat the genome police force differently because they all have to be marked with a big green stripe down your uniform. So that they're a genome, because you can't have somebody like Officer Kim that looks human passing for human. That just wouldn't do. He has to be marked with a big green stripe, just like Virgil does. And Virgil's 8 feet tall. But, when you go try and pull somebody over for speeding, the humans think you're a mall cop and they don't have to listen to you. The genomes think that you're a race traitor that's turned on your own kind. Nobody tells you just how few genomes make it through the system. Only like 1 in 1,000 cops actually make it to 5 years. Most of them get washed out of the system in the first week. You get to see how institutional racism is built into the system, how the deck is stacked against them from the get-go, how politics and stuff work against them, how corrupt everything is. You get to see genomes that have kept their nose to the grindstone their entire career and just keep thinking, if I work hard enough, if I do good enough, I'll be able to get that promotion and I'll be treated as an equal if I work 10 times as hard as the humans, and never get there. Like, you get to see all these different levels of stuff going on. You get to see people that were human until suddenly, like 25, their genome switched, and now all of a sudden they're classified with all these scary monsters that they've been afraid of their whole life. What's that like? How does that person react when they've been afraid of genomes and genomes are the enemy, and now all of a sudden I am one? And, there's just so much awesome stuff in this book. The idea, the premise of that, like, just what would the world be like if we had people with superpowers, and then that extrapolated into all of this. And it's so ripe with awesome opportunities for juicy storytelling and heartbreak. And there's characters that you are going to love and you are going to hate. And, you're going to have your heart broken for, and all of this stuff. It's so hard to talk about this and not just give the whole store away, because I just want to share everything. Oh, thank you, Ron. Man, that bomber jacket is sweet. That is cool.
And I have an answer for Ron about signatures and remarks and that kind of stuff. In the survey they'll be sending at the end of the Kickstarter. So in 4 days, you'll get your survey where you put in your address and all this other kind of stuff, and you can choose your add-ons, whatever. There will be a question about signatures, and Tony is going to work on getting a thing in there for remarks or head sketches or something like that. It might not be from Fish, and in Tony's own words, he can't draw for, but he can't draw for crap. But we'll work on getting you some. But yeah, maybe Mike, Victor. There's a bunch of other FSK dudes who we maybe can get you some remarks from. They'll make it happen. Tony is super amenable to getting there as the writer, and Fish is the artist. And like, I'll tell you, I set up. I had only met Fish on TikTok, and I'd never met Tony, and I set up next to them at FSK Day, and I was there for a different publisher. And it was one of the most fun afternoons, just BSing with these guys and talking trash and trolling Mike Watson. I don't know if any of you guys have met Mike Watson. If you ever get a chance to meet Mike Watson, he is maybe one of the biggest cheerleaders for comics I've ever met. This dude loves comics, like nothing. But he had the logo, the FSK Day logo, was always right over my head in his live shot. So I was always going, like I was trying to clean it or I was holding it up. Like the whole day, it was just goofing around with these guys. It was one of the most fun days I've had at a con since long before the pandemic.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It felt good to get out and be with people again.
Oh man, that felt so good. And like being able to be on panels with people live in person and not having to be on screens, like being able to play off of each other so quickly, like seeing the veins pop out of their face and the spit fly, and like pounding the table so hard that Tony's phone fell off the table. And like that was so much fun, and not having to like say something and then give a pause so somebody else has a chance to jump in. Like we could actually talk with each other and pick up on all those cues of being next to each other. That was so much fun. I miss that so much. I am so looking forward to being back on the con circuit again and being able to do this stuff live with people again. I miss it. What's up, Tony? Good to have you here.
Just talking about you.
Man.
His ears must have been burning, or I may or may not have sent him the link. No, I didn't send him the link.
Oh,
no, we
yeah.
were just talking about you. No,
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the other things I want to talk to you about, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about 5-star and we'll talk more about Green Zone here in a second.
Sure.
Is first place I found you was TikTok. So, tell me about how you approach social media, because it's changing for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And like you're somebody who uses it very effectively and very well. Mike uses it very effectively and very well. Victor uses it very effectively and very well. Tell me about how you came to TikTok, and tell me about how you use social media.
I got my crash course in social media, like I said, when I was completely 100% disabled, like could only communicate with a thumb a lot of the time, communicating through my phone on Facebook, being an advocate for people with Tourette syndrome, talking to parents whose kids just got diagnosed and they're like, oh my God, my kid's life is over now because they blink and they yip. Like, dude, their life is not over. They're going to be fine. Counseling with young adults that are being put out into the world who have been told their whole life that they're broken and they can't do anything. And they're like, well, I guess I just have to give up and get on disability and move into, assisted living or something. I'm like, dude, you can drive, man. You blink a lot and you cuss a couple times a week. Dude, you're good. Get a job, man. I know all kinds of places you can work and cuss a blue streak all day long and nobody will care. Man, you can have anything you want. You might have to make some adjustments, but you can get it. Like the whole reason I do comic books for a living now is because literally I can work from this recliner, and this is much easier on my back and my broken joints. It's easier on my nervous system. If my nervous system only has to worry about keeping my head up and making my hands work, it's only sending out so many signals. I only get so many mixed signals. If I'm trying to stand up and I'm using all the muscles in my body, I take a whole lot more because it's having to send out a lot more signals. I built a job completely around to make this work. Like, you can make it work. But my advocacy for that is what gave me my crash course in social media, and learning that like there's a responsibility to the way you behave on social media when you have fans, even if those fans are just friends in the Tourette's community that are looking up to you and hope their kids are going to be like you someday. And, then I started doing, as a challenge to myself one year, which also led to my comic book, as a challenge to myself one year, my Tourette's was still really bad, but I had gotten a laptop and I could adjust the settings, and I was learning to draw digitally, and Sketchbook had some nice settings you could set that would help take my trimmer out, and had a tool that would put a lasso on the drawing tool. So if my hand was really shaky, I had to make big changes on the leash to make little changes to the cursor. So I could, be leading it around like that. And I started drawing. I learned how to draw digitally and, picked up all this stuff. So I set myself a challenge one year for Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month. I was going to do one piece of art every day for those 30 days, a sketch, something. That ended up turning into a series of cartoons, one panel cartoons about my life with Tourette syndrome, which was Tourette's life. And that's how I first started to get a little bit of attention and fame on the internet, was with my Tourette's life cartoons. And people loved them. Some of those cartoons have been shared like 800,000 times around the world, which is nuts. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, you need to make a Facebook page specifically for this so your fans can go there and not be on your regular page. So I set up a fan page for that, which is now Mr. Fish Comics. And, I was like, okay, if I get 23 people that are devoted to this, I'll keep making cartoons for a little while. I had 100, 200, 400, 800, 1,000 really quickly. And I was like, oh, crap, well, then I got to keep up with this. So for about a year, I did Tourette's Life cartoons. Funny cartoons are the absolute hardest thing for my brain to do. I can crack jokes all day long. We can crack up all day long. I will crack jokes about anything, your mama, your daddy, Star Wars, anything. I can just crack jokes about what you're wearing. We can have fun. Trying to sit down and say, okay, I am going to write a joke is the hardest, scariest thing in the freaking world to me. Like, this radio can come on and I can sing silly lyrics all day long to whatever this song is. If you ask me to sit down and write a song, that is the most intimidating thing to possibly do. So I realized, like, I had inadvertently, accidentally trapped myself into doing something that really didn't fit my wheelhouse that well. I'm a storyteller. I want to tell big stories. I want to tell epic stories. I want to tell stuff about character and all this stuff. Little bitty short gags aren't where I excel. That's not what I'm good at. And I realized I'm spending all my time doing these cartoons and telling people that you should chase your dreams and you can do what you dream of doing. Even if you have to work harder to get there, you can do it. But I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm not chasing my dream. I'm not doing comics or storytelling the way I want to do it because I feel like I'm trapped in this gig that I just did as a challenge to myself. So I finally decided, like, okay, I'm going to put an end to this. I appreciate everybody. Thank you. But I'm going to start doing comics. And I did T-Man and Hyperstrike. And I've done, nearly 30 books in the 3 years since. I think over 30 books I've worked on now. And it's been an amazing ride. I've gotten to work on some awesome stuff. My artwork has jumped exponentially. Like, I've always done art as a living, but there's a big difference in drawing like one image today to be on a t-shirt as opposed to drawing 5 pages today with 6 to 8 panels a piece with, 2 or 3 characters in each one. That is a whole different animal. And my artwork just jumped like crazy. And my experience got better and my speed got better. And, my storytelling has gotten honed. My lettering has gotten so much better in the last 3 years. And, it's been an amazing ride. But all that to be said, like, that's where I started to get my primer in social media, like learning how easy it is to make a mistake, how easy it is to say something off the cuff. But when you have thousands of people that are seeing that, that's a big deal. Like, when you have a lot of little kids, like, I've still got hundreds of kids that follow me just because of my work in Tourette's stuff. And I think about those kids all the time. So that measures like what kind of jobs I'm going to take, what kind of books I'm going to do. Like, I'll do Kevin Terry's 5-star because I know me and Tony hit on the same level about like what we find acceptable and what we want to do in comics. Like, Tony doesn't want to do a book that his kids can't look at. He doesn't want to do a book that he has to hide from his children. And I dig that because I don't either. I don't want to do a book that I have to tell half of my fans you can't check out. I can't actively promote that book the same way as I can if the kids that follow me can read it too, So that taught me a lot about social media and to use it as a tool. Like, when I'm on social media, I am on the job. I shouldn't say anything or do anything on social media that I wouldn't be willing to do if I was working in an office or if I was talking to a customer. And, when I'm on this, it's a job and I'm going to treat it as such. I'm going to respect it. I'm not, I will have my opinions. I will crack jokes. I will be silly. I am me, but I'm careful about what I do. I don't go airing my dirty laundry all over social media. I'm not griping about what my ex did. I'm not, fussing about my kids or like trying to embarrass them or something. Like I'm careful. And I saw Danny J. Quick on TikTok, and like I fell in love with Danny J. Quick and really like got to know Danny because I kept seeing his TikToks shared on my Facebook feed all day long. I had never been on TikTok, and I keep seeing his TikToks all the time because he was sharing it, because he's regularly posting. He's out there grinding. He's building that fan base. And I fell in love with the dude, like this is a cool guy because I was watching his TikToks all the time. And, he really encouraged me. And like, I don't remember if I was watching him on another show or if it was we had him on 5 Star. I can't remember. But I heard him talking about it, and he was like, you got to keep your eye on what's coming next, and just think like if you were one of the first guys to get on YouTube and do a show about comic books, you would be the guy on YouTube to go to talk about comic books. And he's like, if you're the first guy to get on TikTok and talk about comics, then you're the guy for that there. And I was like, that's smart. That's good thinking. So I was like, let's check this out. And I was looking at people, I've been watching people around me. I really like to watch. A lot of people look at the guys at the top of the game. They look at the Jim Lees and the, Rob Liefels and the Todd McFarlanes and, all these guys. I like to keep my eye on the guys that are a few rungs ahead of me on the ladder. Like not the guys that are below me. I mean, I'm curious what they're doing. I'm interested. But I'm really watching the guys that are 5-10 rungs ahead of me. The Mike Watsons, the Danny J. Quicks, the Victor Dandridges, these kind of guys. And seeing what are they doing? How are they doing it? How are they handling themselves? What are they doing? Like I see Mike Watson doing chat and draw. And that's something that, he can do that's different than most people and have you on the show and draw and talk and, draw your character out for you live. It's something I could do. But I don't want to copy him. I don't want to be just a ripoff of Mike Watson. So I was like, what could I do that would be unique? And I realized, like, I'm in these groups all day long with young artists, talking to them, trying to give them advice. Or when they come in saying, hey, I screwed up and did this, and now the client's mad. What do I do? And giving them advice. I was like, you know what? I have a lot of advice I've mastered over years as a freelance artist, years working in graphic design, stuff I've picked up the few years I've been working in comics, but just so much about work history that applies, so much that I picked up just over years of working in graphic design that makes my clients love me now. Like, there are so many jobs that I get that the clients love me and come back time and time again because I return emails. And they went to guys that had much bigger names that worked at Marvel and DC and were willing to pay their much higher page rates to get the book done, but they don't answer emails or they ghosted them. And, or don't even just say, I'm sorry, I'm too busy right now. A book came in and I don't have time to do it. Like, not just communicating alone clearly with the customer, doing what I say I'm going to do, hitting deadlines. If there is a problem, explaining to them what the problem is. If there need to be revisions, I make the revisions. I don't complain like, I put my soul into this. No, this is a job. I'm doing your job. If you're not happy with it, I'll fix it and make you happy with it. Just little things like that have made me more successful than a lot of the guys next to me. And that's why I have moved up so quickly. I was like, I can offer this. So I started doing pro tips and, just sharing bits of advice with people that I thought would be helpful to other young artists. And I started the whole thing out with, I am a nobody. I am a guy that works all day long drawing indie comics that a handful, 100 couple people will read, but I work all day long in indie comics. And most of you would give anything to have that job. Most of you would love to be drawing comic books all day long. And that's what I do. So I can offer a little bit of advice. The first series I did went for 15 videos or something. And it was the same topic over and over again. Don't spend the money until the job's done. It's such a simple thing, but it gets people in so much trouble over and over again. You don't spend the money until the job is done. They've paid you for the job. That's great. You leave that money alone until you finish the job. Once the job is finished and the client is happy, now you can spend the money. Don't fall into the trap of I'm just going to get a cup of coffee. Or I'm just going to, no, you're not. The sad fact is, if you cannot afford a cup of coffee without dipping into money from a job you haven't done, you cannot afford a cup of coffee. So make some instant coffee at home and get to work and finish the pages. When it's done, then you can spend the money. But all kinds of things happen. Kinds of things can come up, and if a client, ultimately isn't happy or the job doesn't work out, or who knows, maybe I get sick for 2 weeks and I can't work. I can return that money to them because I haven't spent it and they're not mad at me, and even if they have to go away with all their money, they're still satisfied. They're not mad at me. And, that has hands down been one of the most important tips I can share with anybody. Don't spend the money until the job's done. But so I started offering these tips, and then I started doing time-lapse art too. And I'm getting more interaction there than I am anywhere else. So I still share it to my Twitter and my Instagram and my Facebook and all that stuff. But I'm getting more traction on things on TikTok than I do anywhere else.
All right, guys. In the comments is the link to the Kickstarter for Kevin Terry is 5-star. I don't know why I just want to call him Mike Terry. That's a different dude. No, Kevin Terry is 5-star. Yes, thank you, Happy. Thank you, Ron. Guys, we started today. We need to raise $444 more to get there. We don't need to raise that much anymore because of people like Ron and people like Happy. So I want to thank you guys for that. We've got some more time here with Fish. So if you're out there and you haven't pledged yet and you're watching, you're going, maybe I should pledge. There's a $1 tier. Just, we'd have to have a lot of us pledge $1, but there's a $1 tier where you get 14 different digital comics. 14.
It's also
That's
an
at
add-on.
least a $14 value.
So you could pledge at the $15 level and then just add $1 and get 14 digital comics, which is awesome. There's all kinds of great stuff.
Level, right at the $15 level, you get a physical copy of the beautiful Fish Lee barbershop cover, which is this guy right here. Plus, you get the digital copy, so you don't have to finger up your beautiful physical copy. And you get a digital screensaver. You get a digital art package that's Fish art that you can put on your desktop background, you're on your phone, wherever you want to share out. Wherever you want to support 5-star there. And it's that's $15. That's nothing. You can have it's not nothing, but $15 is one half trip to Taco Bell for me. So you could
do it.
Yeah, you could do it. And there's all kinds of different packages in here, where you can get all kinds of different cool stuff.
Oh yeah, you can.
Ron mentioned the bomber jacket.
Oh,
I wanted
man,
to show everybody the bomber jacket.
That
T-shirt.
That is 5-star to a T, man. You zip that thing up and you are 5-star. I would be flying around the house. I would break my leg, I guarantee you, because I would be running around, blasting the bad guys, trying to pick up stuff, being super strong, man. I would have such a time.
Yeah, no, it's true. I love the idea of doing, a jacket. A lot of people do T-shirts. Like T-shirts are kind of common, but
the jacket's something unique. The
jackets are a
jacket's
little
something
different, right? I love the idea of
Oh.
doing some apparel that's a little different, a little unique. So
And
for me,
I love because it incorporates this clean, iconic design of 5 Stars costume, and you got to totally give Tony props for that. It is such a beautiful design. I cannot go on enough about how much I love the clean look of this. But because it's such a clean design, like you don't have to worry about oh, I'm wearing a kitty jacket because it's got Spider-Man all over it and I don't want people to laugh at me at work. Like if people aren't in the know, it's just an awesome looking jacket. It's just a cool design with some stars on it. But the people in the know, the 5-star fanatics, they're going to see that jacket and be like, oh, dude, that's sweet, man. I wish I'd gotten that. I'm kicking myself that I missed out on that on the Kickstarter. It is such a cool jacket, man. I am digging it. Man, FSK is doing awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shout out to Mike for doing it. So, okay, I like to ask everybody some questions that nobody ever asks them.
All right.
So we'll start with this one. Who's your favorite Pokemon?
I don't have one. My age, I missed the Pokemon trend. And I follow a lot of things, like a lot of things that are way younger than me. Like I watch Teen Titans Go, stuff like that. But Pokemon just hit at the point where I was too busy working and raising kids and stuff that I just didn't get into it.
That's fair. We would have also accepted Tony Clapper. Sorry, dude. I know you're watching, so I got to give you a little jab there. All right. If you could collaborate with any person, living or dead in comics industry, who would you want to collaborate with?
Oh man, there are so many people that I would love to collaborate with, like Dean Haspiel that does the Red Hook comics and stuff. Like he just co-plotted 3 issues with Savage Dragon and stuff. I love him. I love his work. There's so many guys that I follow, like Hoyt Silva. Oh, I love his work. The book he just did, Yumi, with the swords and the intrigue. Oh, it was so cool.
The book was beautiful too.
But if I had to pick one person out of everybody, I mean, it'd probably be Mark Texiera from back in the day, like with Marvel. When all these other guys were blowing up and getting huge, like Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane, man, Mark Texiera's run on the Wolverine book just blew my freaking mind. And when they started the horror, revamp with all of the Ghost Rider and Blade and all those series again, he did so much awesome stuff in there. And he inspired my love of inking with the brush. And I know he used both at the same time, which was just mind-blowing, but everybody else was just a pen at the time, and little fine cross-hatching. But the way he would throw a brush in there just inspired me and got me checking out more brush inking until eventually I became a straight brush inker for years. And he had such a huge impact on my art, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it now because my stuff is so clean and simple. And and he'd have so many sketchy lines bringing texture and grit and feel to it. But I would love to be able to do anything with him. I don't care what it is. I would erase his pages and be a happy camper. And I would be glad. I got a great erasing technique. I don't use it anymore because I'm digital, but I'm good at it, man. I will erase your pages happily.
All right. If you're stuck on a desert island, you can have one book, one album, and one movie.
Oh, man. The movie. Probably Shawshank Redemption, because that has never been on that I don't sit and watch the whole thing.
Did you make Tony take you to Shawshank when you were here?
No.
Oh, when you come back,
I didn't even think about that.
When you come back to visit, we're gonna have to take you to Shawshank.
Oh, we'll do that. Absolutely.
That's
well, I'm guaranteed I'm going to be back, man. Next FSK Day, I'm going to be there. I guarantee.
They shot that about an hour from where we were at for FSK Day.
Oh man, I wish I'd known that. Book, I don't know. Album, that would probably be They Might Be Giants Flood, and I've listened to that thing a billion times, and I will listen to it so much that it drives me nuts sometimes, but I have listened to that thing over and over on repeat since it came out, pretty much. And that one I can guarantee I could listen to for the rest of my life and be okay. Book, I don't know, man. I'd probably take something that I've never read all the way through, like the original Frankenstein or something. But I don't know. See, and that's one of the things, like, I love stories, but because I have so many bubbling out of my head, I don't read as much books as, like, a lot of my contemporaries do, because I was just like, I've got stories coming out of my head. If I want stories, I will tell a story. I will write one down. There's a few that I've read and just absolutely loved, but I don't read as much as a lot of people do because I got them pouring out.
So maybe the best book for you would be that book, What Men Understand About Women, which was just 1,000 blank pages.
Oh, now I'd fill that up, man. You give me a big giant sketchbook and you will never see me again. I will be gone.
All right. And then my last question that nobody's ever asked anybody before. You have the ultimate nerd garage. You get one car and one spaceship from all of pop culture. What are you putting in it?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I mean, like, just sheer, like, nostalgia love, I would want to say, like, Ecto-1 from the Ghostbusters. But, man, like, if you got the time machine from Back to the Future, you could do a lot. Like, if you're really getting the vehicle. Now, what are you getting? Are you getting the vehicle or are you getting the prop?
You're getting the vehicle.
Okay. Now, see, like, so nostalgia would say
it kills your enemies.
I would want, nostalgia would say I want to get Ecto-1. But, like, just greed, I guess, practicality would say, the time machine, I could do a lot of stuff with that. Like, part of me wants to say Inspector Gadget's car because of the transforming capabilities, but it really can't do much besides that.
The gadget,
other than, like changing from a van to a car, it doesn't do a whole lot. The vehicles in Mask did more than that does. So, yeah, I would probably take the time machine. I probably can't even fit in a DeLorean. So that would suck. But I'd break my legs trying to get my giant self into it. But and there ain't no room with all that equipment to put the seat back. So I'd probably get it and then never be able to drive it. Spaceship. Now that is a question. Because, I mean, I would love something with, like, the maneuverability of, like, a TIE fighter, but you don't have distance. You can't travel a long way in that, And, like, even something like the Firefly, like, Serenity is constantly breaking down, can only go so far, like, constantly having to refuel and stuff. I'm leaning more towards, like, the ship in Stargate universe was awesome. It was designed to go for centuries, and take entire civilizations with it. But when they got on it, it's breaking down and the air purifiers are breaking, and I can't fix that. So, yeah, I'd say I'd probably go Farscape because, like, at least, on that, like, the ship's alive. and can like heal itself and stuff. Like I don't have to be a mechanic. It's got all those little bugs running around to fix things and stuff, and yeah, I would probably take that one just because I can go forever. I could go anywhere I want to go, and I don't have to worry about fixing it myself.
That's a good answer. Everybody's got their own way of thinking about this, but you'd be surprised how often the DeLorean from Back to the Future is the pick.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to like it. And everybody's got a different answer for the spaceship too. Like a year ago, I was sitting here saying, "Oh, well, I would take Christine because then I could sleep in the back seat, and then my enemies just wouldn't exist anymore, and I'd never have to like repair the car." And the Slave One because I have a small garage and it stores flat. But now it's like I'm thinking Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a ship that could just be anything.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I turn into something weird. But
yeah, that's got a lot of potential to it.
It's true. So, all right. Where can people follow you on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok? Where can they interact with you and find out what you're doing?
I took a page from Most Epic Art, Mike Watson, and rebranded all of my social media. Like my Facebook page used to be Tourette's Life for years. I changed it all to Mr. Fish Comics. Now I think on Instagram there's periods between it, and on TikTok there's underscores between it. But it's Mr. Fish Comics everywhere across the board. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even MrFishComics.com, which I haven't updated in years. I'm trying to get on that, but I'm also drawing comics, so it takes time. But Mr. Fish Comics, anywhere you want to find me, I should be. And 5 Star Fridays, there's a 5 Star Fridays group on Facebook and a 5 Star Fridays podcast page that you can follow. Here lately, we've been casting the show through the group more often because it's getting more views there than from the fan page. But check out 5 Star Fridays because from now on, we're going to start incorporating creating characters on the spot, and we're going to like randomly pull up some superpowers, let the guest pick some, let the fans pick some, let the fans kick out ideas for costumes and names and stuff, and just create new characters that we can incorporate into 5 Star, Green Zone, or who knows what. And so y'all really want to check that out because it's a lot of fun. And, you can tell your friends like, hey, I shouted out the answer that ended up making that character have bone claws that are absolutely useless. Like, who was it that did it the other night on the show? Absolutely useless bone claws, but it's a cool part of the character, and I love it.
All right, and then one last time, Kevin Terry is 5 Star. 4 days ago, this sucker ends Wednesday, January 19th at 9 p.m. So it's 7:30 Eastern time. Sends at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. So you've only got really like 3 more days.
Mm-hmm. And thank you guys for getting out there and sharing. I really appreciate you guys for getting out there and backing this book. And get out there and share it. Even if you can't afford the $1, and I get it. Like, times are tough. We're all trying to make it. If you can't afford the $1, you can afford a click. Click on it and share it. Share it as much as you can. Share it every day. Like, it takes a second to do it, but it gets it in front of new eyes. I have legit had friends that I talk to all the time. I message in Messenger all the time. I follow what they're doing. I almost missed some friends' Kickstarters because the algorithm damped down their post about their Kickstarter so much that I never saw it. One of my friends, I see posts from them every single day. I didn't know they were running a Kickstarter until I was looking through my Kickstarter and checking out old books that I had backed. And I wondered, it's been a while. Why don't they have a book out? I clicked on their name. Turns out their Kickstarter had 2 days left. And I didn't know. They've been posting all day, every day, and I never saw it. I see them post about going out for ice cream with their kids. Didn't see the Kickstarter. So get out and share. It does so much good for us, so much more than you can imagine. So thank y'all for backing it, and thank y'all for sharing it.
Awesome. Links for this are in the comments and in the description of this video. So if you go back to watch it, it's not showing the comics, just check out the description. You know, I keep trying to click on things. I'm like, where is my mouse? And it's on the 5-star Kickstarter page and not on the page I need to control the thing. Oh, It's going to be a long weekend, Fish. All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Fish Comics.
Absolutely.
Fish has been great getting to know you, great hanging out here. We did an hour and a half. I could see it in your eyes. You've been on the air, what, 4 hours now?
Yeah.
3.5 hours, something like that. You've been
Just
on the air
today,
a long time today.
And like 3 yesterday, and it's been almost every night. Trying to help Tony out, trying to get to the goal, trying to get it out to as many people as we can, because this is an awesome book and y'all don't want to miss it.
Absolutely. And guys, keep an eye out on FSK, on Freestyle Comics. They've got a lot of great products from a mountain of indie creators. That's the thing I want you all to understand about FSK. And Fish, maybe talk to this in our closing minutes here. FSK it's not a publisher so much as it's a collaborative. All of these are creator-owned titles made by the creators, and then they're publishing together as a group in one big sort of universe, so that everybody is benefited by the power of everybody working together. So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about FSK and what led you there and that kind of stuff, just in our closing minutes here, to kind of explain what the deal is with Freestyle?
Man. Like, Freestyle Comics has been Mike Watson for a long time. That was his imprint for his books, and you know, it was his tag added on to Hot Shot from whoever it was getting published through. You know, like Mr. Fish Comics gets tagged on to mine, but he has been knocking out Hot Shot books for years. He's got like issue 11 coming out soon, if it's not out already. I think you can order issue 11 for sure. Issue 12's fixing to drop. He's got several issues of Vigilance out, Heroes International. He has been building this universe for a long time. And he used to be with Short Fuse, and when Short Fuse closed, he went back out on his own again, just FSK, Freestyle Comics, and he started reaching out and bringing other people in. Like Tony had been in Short Fuse with him, and he was like, hey, Tony, why don't you come with us, be part of this? And they figured out how to work it all in and make it part of the same universe. 5-Star could have been his own thing. He could have been his own little separate universe in his own little world, but they wanted to incorporate it and let him be able to cross over and be in the same world. And the things 5-Star does have effect on the things in Hot Shot's world and vice versa. And so he started bringing these people in, and that's when I saw what Mike Watson was doing. And I see him bring in Tony and the way they're working 5-Star into the universe. And then I see my favorite indie creator, Charlie McElvey, with Spider Squirrel. I loved that book so much when the first issue dropped. And then I see, oh, hey, Mike just signed Charlie, and Spider Squirrel is now going to be a part of the FSK universe. And that's awesome. That's a smart choice, because Charlie's clever and his books are good. And then I see him bringing in Lori Foster from Unlikely Heroes Studios, which she's still running that show over there, but he brings her in to help with the business side of things. And I'm like, all right, Lori is smart. And there's not a book that comes out of Unlikely Heroes Studios that is not top-notch, gold-tier, diamond quality stuff, man. Those things are polished to a high shine. And I know a lot of that is because of Lori's hard work. So now I'm saying, like, okay, he is surrounding himself with the smartest, the best, the brightest. And I was like, I'm watching what this dude's doing. And the amount of awesome creators that he's brought together, you know, and then we got to know each other. And then Tony was just talking me up like, man, you got to get fishing. You've got to see this Green Zone book. And when they saw it, they had to have it. They were excited about it. They're as excited about it as I am. And that means something to me. I could have been farming it out. I could have been pitching it to bigger publishers. I could have been pitching it, you know, way up the food chain if I wanted to. But I like these guys. I know these guys. I trust these guys. I respect what these guys are doing. I like hanging out with these guys, and that's a big deal. That's one of the best pro tips I ever got when I was coming up in the freelance business. I had Stephen Butler, comic book artist, worked for Marvel and all kinds of people. I respect the man. Met him years ago, and he told me, be the kind of guy that people want to work with. Be a good guy that people want to spend time with, and that will get you more jobs than talent ever will. And Mike's the kind of guy I want to hang out with. Mike's the kind of guy I want to work with. Mike's the kind of guy I can trust. And so I joined up with him. And with the amount of amazing talent that he's signed on to FSK now, we have book after book after book after book scheduled to come out. The lineup, you can go to the Kevin Terry's 5-star Kickstarter page, and you scroll down there, you will see this like Marvel Cinematic Universe laid out image of all the books that are coming out, just boom, 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 boom. Like every month we have got a new book coming out. And, and I'm going to get out more issues of Green Zone that are on the schedule already. Like there is going to be a lot of awesomeness coming from FSK. And it's just really cool. And everybody is working together and everybody is helping out. And, knowing now that I can count on awesome creators that I respect, like Mike Watson, like Danny Cooper, like Charlie McElvey, like Lori Foster, like Tony Clapper. I can go ask these guys for help. Like I just finished off coloring the first half of the first issue of Green Zone because I'm having to work on my book around everybody else's. I just finished off half the colors and sent it to the guys. Lori comes back with a laundry list of like spelling mistakes and errors that we haven't caught. I've gone through this book with a fine-tooth comb like 10 times, and she's still catching crossbar eyes in the middle of words where they don't need to be. I've looked for those frickin' eyes 10 times, and she still spotted a whole bunch of them. But I love that. I love that I have these people that I can call on. And when they need something, they're like, hey, Fish, can you color this for me? Hey, Fish, can you do a piece of art for me real quick? Absolutely, I can help you out. Like Mike hit me up. He was working on the Emerald Quest Kickstarter a couple of months ago, and he's like, man, I need an intro for the opening. I just need you to do a couple of pieces of art, and we'll like pan across them and, make like a video out of it. I was like, oh, dude, no, man, no, I got you. So we ended up throwing together a whole animation for him, and it came out so cool. But like, we've got each other's backs, and we're working together, and we're helping each other out, man. You need ideas, Tony's there to help you out. You need somebody to help with things, Charlie's there. There's such an awesome crew. Like, I've got people now that are going to be helping me with colors and stuff, and it's just, man, it is such an awesome crew, and we're all working to help each other succeed. The better one of us does, the better all of us do. The better Tony's book does, the better Charlie's book is going to do next month, and the better Vigilance is going to do the month after that, and then the better Green Zone's going to do in April. Like we're all helping lift each other up, and the rising tide lifts all boats, and it's an awesome team, and I'm super, super excited and humbled to get to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's cool that it's, like I said, it operates more like a collective.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kind of in it for themselves. So, or in it for themselves, but also in it for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty cool little setup. So, head over to fskgo.com. Link in the comments, link in the description to back the Kickstarter for Kevin Terry's 5-star. Like I said, you got 4 more days or so, almost there, getting it funded. I know they'll get her done. Thank you once again to Fish for coming on. This has been a good time. I have been Kyle. This has been part 1 of the EXP Expo. Tomorrow we're back with we're back with Joshua Starnes from Red 5 Comics and Tom Hutchison from Big Dog Inc. And then on Monday we've got Dirk Manning and Mog Park and more guests throughout the week. Stay tuned for those announcements as they become available. Thanks once again to Fish. We will see everybody next time. If I can click the buttons.